Hey friends, you're listening to the AI Entrepreneurs Podcast, where we talk tools, stories, and strategy for today's founders. I'm your host, Angelina Shively, and this show is for entrepreneurs who are curious about AI and want to know how to transform their businesses. In each episode, I share honest conversations about what's working, what's not, and the lessons learned along the way. If you're ready to use AI to save time, think bigger, and build smarter, you're in the right place. Let's go. Welcome. I'm so excited. It was like Christmas Day waking up. I have here the famous Molly Mahoney ready to share with us all of her wisdom today.
And
So
I get to be with the famous, magical Angelina. So it's like Christmas morning for me too.
love it.
Love
You're so
it.
sweet. So Molly's here today, and she is going to share just a little bit of her journey on how she uses AI marketing strategies to share her magic with the world. So, Molly, if you would first just tell us, for the listeners who may not know you, not that there's anyone like that, but a little bit about your journey and how you got to the place where you are at today.
Yes, I'm so grateful to be here. And actually, I'll just start by saying yesterday I met with someone who had emailed about wanting me to come on his podcast. It was all really awesome when we got on, and he was like, "So I don't remember why I asked you to be on this podcast."
Oh my goodness.
We'd been meeting beforehand, and he said, "I have no paper trail. I don't know anything about you." And I was like, "Why didn't you do at least a little bit of homework, sir?"
My
There
goodness.
are definitely people who don't know what I'm up to, so I'm excited to be here and share with them, and I'm sure the podcast with him is gonna be really fun and awesome. But yeah, I think it's great to always remember that we should be, sharing the foundations of where we came from every time that we speak, because there's always people who don't know, so we should catch everybody up. Yeah, so I started as a musical theater performer back in a bajillion years ago. And then in 2013, I decided, rather than, because let me just say before that, in 2010, I left my life as a musical theater performer and moved out to California to get married. We launched our best launch yet, which is Frank Dominguez and his brother Charleston Dominguez. And then in 2013, I was actually teaching singing lessons, and I decided to make a big, huge pivot. Rather than teaching performers to sing and have a career as a performer, I decided to teach business owners how to perform. And so I basically just flip-flopped my ideal client and the offer, and I swapped it. And it was the best decision ever, because we did $50,000 within 3 months. I was able to impact so many more people. And the other big thing about that switch is that Facebook Live had just come out. And so it was the first time that I really jumped in as an early adopter in something, and I had the opportunity to do that. So recognizing that opportunity with Facebook Live was so huge for me. And then over the years, it's just happened again and again. So in 2018, when Messenger bots came out, I jumped all in on Messenger bots. I was named one of the most fun, engaging Messenger bots by ManyChat, and then they hired me to speak on their behalf, which was amazing. And then with AI, so in 2021, about 2 years before ChatGPT, I was like, "I'm obsessed with this." I messaged Dave, the founder of Jasper, and I was like, "Come on my show. Let's tell the world about AI." And I
Right.
launched the Content Club, which is now still going strong, but I think it was the world's first AI-focused membership. Super fun stuff that we've been doing.
So cool. And how did you decide? I'm going to ask like all the insider
Okay,
questions.
I got it. I love
Oh,
it.
so like, how did you decide to do that shift when you were like switching from, you know, the first job to the next? Like, how did you
Yeah,
decide?
so it was actually such a gift wrapped in a big, giant failure.
Yeah, let's hear about it. We love to hear failure because out of failure is growth. So let's hear
Yes.
it.
So I had decided I had been following Pat Flynn. So when I first launched The Prepared Performer, I had my whole website, like I was the number one search result for tap dance terminology. And I was really known as the one of kind of the number one vocal coach in the area who helped people with their auditions for the school that my son now goes to, which is so fun, but this performing arts high
Amazing.
school. And I had built this website following everything that Pat Flynn taught. So I was obsessed with Pat Flynn with a Smart Passive Income podcast back in the day, and really SEO focused. And it got to the point where I was hit a six-figure year. and there was no way for me to scale. So I was
Mhm.
doing these one-on-one vocal classes. I was also like directing musical theater at different studios. I actually had 10 jobs in 10 different locations,
Oh my gosh.
which is bananas. And I didn't even
Right.
realize that until this several years later when I was putting together a webinar and kind of going through my journey. That was actually really big to recognize that, but it was not scalable. I had to do something that was scalable. So I had this idea, kind of thanks to Pat Flynn, to launch an online course. And I decided that I was going to teach other performers how to sell their sell their expertise online. So I launched a program called Prepared Performer Profits. Have I told you about this before?
No.
Okay. And it was the cure for the starving artist syndrome was the tagline. Now, there's a big red flag in that tagline because if you call someone a starving artist, they're most likely not going to want to invest in your stuff.
I love it.
And not that I am like, I had someone get really upset with me after telling this story once at an event. She was crying and said, "I just can't believe you would say starving artist." And I'm like, "No, ar I artists are like my people," but I was calling them starving artists at the time, and that was the problem. So, I did this big, huge launch. I did all these Facebook ads, and we had 0 sales.
Okay.
Like,
That
actually 0.
that's you know what? I love that you're sharing this because that everyone needs to know that you have to start somewhere.
Yeah. And I could if we had 2 sales, it would have been worse because then I would have had to deliver. But yeah, we had 0 sales, and the biggest problem, honestly, in that was I actually recorded the course first. So this is when I first started realizing I need to just move in action, I need to make offers, and then if people buy, build the thing on the back end.
I love that. Okay.
That we ended up I in this, like, panic, I was sitting at a coffee shop in New York. My good friend from high school, Amber, had gotten a group of us tickets to the original cast of Hamilton on Broadway. It was like some business perk that she had, which I was like, "Oh, I don't even know how that happened," but we were all seeing the original cast of Hamilton. They all went out during the day, and I went to a coffee shop with my computer to try and save this launch, and it was like, it just was not
Right.
gonna go. So, I decided either I give up on the online marketing thing and I go back to teaching, or I pivot in a totally different direction. And so I made a list of this was such a big deal. I made a list of all the things that I knew I could teach, all the things I knew that I could offer, and I really knew I wanted to use my expertise, so something that I could do as a consultant or a coach or something like that. Huge list. Then I made a list of all of the opportunities that I had to different groups, different communities. So now we call them awareness playgrounds, like where your ideal clients are hanging out. But at the time, I almost, because of this huge list that I had, I almost decided to launch a business serving recreational departments of cities and their youth staff.
Oh my word. Imagine if you had gone that direction. What?
So, and I love working with municipalities and other things that I do, but how, like, stifled would I have felt? Because now I could just let my freak flag fly. The reason was I had a student, a musical theater student, whose mom ran a recreation department for the city of La Habra. And because I was doing confidence coaching with these kids, she brought me in to run a program for their youth staff so that when they went out and ran like the Easter egg drop, they would be more confident in the way they spoke to the community. And I am so grateful that she asked me to do that because I never would have thought of that. But it provided such a huge bridge for me to realize that my skill set in teaching, singing, and dancing actually had such bigger application. And so I taught them the Quesadilla of Awesome, which is one of our foundational strategies.
Yes.
And I basically gave them speaking coaching, but really it was like networking coaching. So I taught them how to listen, I taught them how to connect, how to stay positive, and like how to focus on your message. And it wasn't sales, but if you think about when you go to a city event like that, the way that people greet you when you show up totally has an effect on how everything goes in your life. So I was doing that kind of training. So that was one of the options. And then I made a third list which was what is the opportunity that's available right now? And so Facebook Live had just come out, and I had a lot of friends who were doing things on Periscope,
Uh-huh.
which makes me sound so old, but on Periscope, I felt like such a I don't know, it was so awkward because it was already an established thing, and so finding Facebook Live, which everyone felt awkward about, gave me the opportunity to be like, "Yeah, I'll feel awkward," and make a system based on it.
And so out of that became this amazingness that you have to offer and share with the world now. And so what I love is that you have just taken and pivoted every time there's something that you could change and modify for people and allow them to grow. So tell us a little bit about how you came up with the ideas for your programs. How did that
Yeah.
come up?
So the very first one was that with Facebook Live, it was called Camera Confidence, and, somehow I have the trademark on the term camera confidence, which I'm like, I don't know how the government allowed me to do that because if anyone launches a course called Camera Confidence, I get a notification and I get to message them and say, "Oops, I have the trademark on that." So wild. But what I did was I took what would it take? Like, I came up with a result, and then I made a list of all of the steps that I thought it would take to get there. And so I probably could find it on a spreadsheet somewhere, but I put it in a spreadsheet. I love spreadsheets. Are you a
Yes, you
spreadsheet
do.
lover?
I am. Yes,
Okay.
for sure.
I have to really remember that some people don't love them. Like, I have a private client and I had all of their content written in a spreadsheet. And then a couple weeks later, she told me, she was like, "I'm really sorry, but you reading that much actually triggers migraines for me if I much in a spreadsheet." I'm like, "Oh, no. Why didn't you tell me?" And if I see things not in a spreadsheet, my brain cannot process it, but it's interesting. We all have different methods, but I use a spreadsheet. As I'm saying this out loud, Angelina, I am gonna build an app that does what I did to map out courses.
Yes.
My wind gap thing that I talk about?
Yes.
We're not gonna talk about it on this podcast, but I had this strategy that I think makes so much sense called the wind gap, and everybody gets so confused about it. I'm gonna turn that shiz into an app. So mark my words, it's coming soon. So I did
Yes.
a spreadsheet and I mapped out if I was gonna guide one person to this result, what steps would I take? And then I literally opened an empty Facebook group and I said, "Okay, I'm gonna teach every day for 30 days." So I mapped it out into 30 bite-sized pieces, and then
Okay.
have I ever told you this before?
No,
Okay,
I'm learning
wanna
so
see?
much.
Because it's so wild what I did actually.
So you taught every day for 30
30
days.
days. And then I put it into a Facebook group, but then I organized it. We now call the program Show Up with Video. I'm just gonna show it to you. Is that okay? I should have
Yeah.
asked. Okay.
Yes.
So if you go to my photo albums, you'll see the OG original version of this. I didn't pay for software. I taught
Ah,
it in a Facebook group. I created my own course platform inside a Facebook group.
oh my word.
And so
Okay.
everything that I taught had a video and a written piece, and then I connected it to a photo and the whole thing. Now all of these have been deleted because Facebook deletes live videos. I think. Yeah, so it's just going to the actual text there. But each of these went to a training video. Yeah, all sadly gone. They
Oh,
all went to a training video that was all outlined in that group, and then I just had to show up and teach. So I did that. It was $47 for the first lifetime access that I sold. What? And by the end of the 30 days, so many people had amazing results. It was just awesome. And I sold it everywhere. Like, I was at eWomen. We raised the price to $97 the next month, and I was fully shameless. I have this new program, it's $97. The price is gonna go up, so you better get in now. And I've never felt more confident, honestly, in selling something because I knew that this was actually really valuable and based on my true expertise. And so we then eventually it got raised to 147, 197, and then the last time we sold that program after we moved it into a portal and, had all the real things and live coaching and blah blah blah, it was $5,000. So some people got access to that $5,000 for that $5,000 program for only $47.
oh my gosh. And imagine this is 10 years ago almost now.
Yeah.
And here
It
you
is 10 years
are.
ago. It was 2016.
And here you are. You have taken all of that knowledge and skill and then developed the amazing programs that you have now, which is so awesome. So awesome. Super fast friend, if you're loving this episode, make sure you follow the show and leave a 5-star review. And if you want help actually using AI to build content and sales, come join us inside the school community, AI Amplified Entrepreneurs. The link is in the show notes. So here I want to pause because I love your brain. And I think that our brains are very similar because we are always going, and probably like a lot of entrepreneurs, we're always thinking about what can I make, like you just did now, and you're going to make it. So tell us I really need to know, how do you get so much done in a day?
Oh my gosh. I secretly just showed you my calendar. So there's that. So I messaged you secretly, privately before this, that this week has been a little more cuckoo than usual. And the main thing I was thinking about this morning, it's not AI.
Okay, so let's hear it.
The main thing is duplicatable frameworks and systems.
Okay.
And as much as I think my Achilles heel is creating new systems, and I am finally starting to realize, stop it.
Yes.
Have the thing done. It has worked before. Duplicate and then customize. Duplicate that foundation. So I have, I don't usually work with private clients, but when people say, please, I'll pay you $10,000 a month, sometimes in the past I have given in. So I'm in a place right now where I've taken on private clients again and prepping for a call. I have 3 private client calls right after this. And prepping for that today, I had a system to put together for them, and I started to go down the wrong path of creating something new. And I was in there talking to my AI, and it was making it so complicated. And then I said, wait a minute, AI, you are not following my system. And so then I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And I just duplicated what I already had,
I love it.
put their stuff on top of it. So yeah.
Perfect. That's great. And tell me a little bit about, your schedule is so packed with you are an amazing speaker. You do all these things. What are some of the systems that you put into place to be able to be so successful?
Okay. So first thing is, can I like show actual secrets behind the scenes?
Yeah. And then we're going to tell the people who are listening on the podcast, they need to go to YouTube to watch this amazing video.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'll make sure that I explain it in a way that if you're not watching that, you'll
Yes.
understand as well. So this is funny actually, because I did delete something off my calendar recently because I accidentally changed the name of it to Fiddler on the Roof because my kids were doing Fiddler on the Roof rehearsal and I need to go back and fix it. So I'll put it in the calendar right now, but I just skipped way far ahead in my calendar. So you can see, even when I get to July of this year, which is several months out, this is what my calendar looks like before anything else. Now, what it usually looks like is from 3 to 4 in the afternoon on Wednesdays, it says, and I'm going to just add it in, learn or create magic. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 3, not till 4, sorry, 3 to 6 is what I had this as. So it's 3 hours at the end of my day that I save 3 days a week to learn or create magic. And in here, you'll notice when I go to put these things in my calendar, see how there's all of these calendars that say Molly on them?
Yes.
We're going to talk about this on Monday's call, the new call that we're doing in Multiply as like our planning call. So
Love
I
it.
have these set as self-care. And so it could be set for, there's one called learning and prepping, but I really am working hard to remind myself that I can't do everything else that I'm doing if I don't protect that time. Now, do I always have it? No, but at least it's there as a standing thing. And Kim Garst actually taught me this on a podcast interview I did with her years ago. She said to create like fences, basically. She's like, you got to give yourself a fence that you'd have to jump over in order to change your boundary. So by setting that, you'll also see, again, I think I've messed some of this up, but usually I have family down here. This is time on Mondays. My kids do musical theater rehearsals, so I have that blocked off. And then you'll notice at the top of the day that I have my days set with different categories. So Monday is my deep work day. Tuesday is my meeting day. So that's why if you look at it on a normal day, it's usually just jam packed. Wednesday is when I do take private clients. I try to keep them on Wednesdays. And then Thursday is actually the day that I do content. So this week is an extra week. But if we go back here, you'll see that we have AI stars on Thursday. So that I consider like a big video day because we do such a big
Right.
training thing there. Then the third Thursday, I have the content club. Again, another big training day. And then Thursday is either eWomen because I go to that on the second Thursday of the month, or I have my master classes scheduled. Even watch, let's like go all the way out to September. Oh, there's eWomen again, but let's go here. My master class is already on there. I really try to keep that in there that Thursday has those things that happen every single month. And then that
Right.
way I don't have to do the context switching of it. It's like it's already set.
I love that. And I think it's so important. I just did a workshop yesterday talking about blocking on your
Oh,
schedule. And like
yeah.
that is a game changer. I love that.
I saw part of it actually, and I love that when we're doing things like that, I heard you say something that was like, just to be honest, I don't always do this perfectly. I think that's super important also. I remember I came on a coaching call once and someone said, and I was asking the question, like I was just feeling really overwhelmed. And they said, can you show us your calendar? And I said, sure. And I showed it. And they were like, I'm just so proud of you and impressed that you're, first of all, willing to show us what you got here and the way that I was blocking the time. Yeah.
Right. Right. Okay. I know that we have a limited time and I could probably spend all day asking you all of the insider secrets. But if you had to give entrepreneurs, small business owners, just like words of wisdom, what would your biggest advice be? And before we go there, I'm going to say what I have learned from you, which I think is just the key takeaway, is one of the things is making connections with the humans. And we talk a lot about, obviously I'm in your program, which I'll share the links and I love. But the reason I'm in your program is because you made a human connection with me. And I was like, oh my gosh, here is this like amazing, famous person who is sending me a message and saying, hey, you might be a good fit for a program. And I was like, you know what? I've been sitting on the sidelines and I am a good fit for your program. So that is what I took to heart. And you talk about it all the time, like making connections with people. But now I'll let you give your.
Well, so let's like stick on that for just a second too, because I have been overly impressed with the way that you move into action, the way that you really put, like a lot of people just listen to the information and they don't actually do it. But you are one of those unicorns who, as soon as we cover something, and you are doing it by the end of the day, which I love it so much. So I would just love to know, like, what are some of the things that you think has shifted for you by saying yes to one of the biggest things I would say is say yes to yourself and move into action, even if you don't know all of the next steps. Like, how has that turned into goodness for you?
Yes, I think it's like taking action and letting it be messy and not
Mm.
feeling like I have to have it all figured out. But what I've most learned is like putting into place systems. And so you talked about that earlier, but okay, before I just felt like I was creating random content. And now it's like, okay, I'm going to have a system. I'm going to make a piece of long form content once a week, and then I'm going to repurpose that. And so it's like I'm able to learn so much from what you have been showing and modeling and then bring it into my own business. And the ripple effect has been just absolutely insane. Yay.
Oh, good. Yeah, I would say, another example of this, less on the kind of deeper side, but just on that system side, when you were asking like what processes we have, I'm going to screen share something else. And so if you are not watching, I'm just going to show this on the screen. But I built this thing called the Speaker Hub, and I should have just gone to this to get the link, which, I didn't. But so this is our Speaker Hub where every single event that I'm doing is now in this vibe coded app. If we go to the calendar, I can see all of the different things that I'm speaking on because I was getting pulled in so many different directions. And I was brave enough to tell my team, yo, I can't keep up at this pace without having something that fully supports me. And to be honest, over last year, there were several roadblocks that came up where it was like I was being a little at one point, there was some reflection back to me that I was being maybe a little bit needy around that. And I held my ground and I stuck to what I knew that I needed, because what we're doing in this business, showing up energetically this way, is no joke.
Right.
So prioritize the self-care, prioritize, like, I'm now going and getting deep tissue body work done every single week. And I drive about 30 minutes to get there because I love this guy that I work with. And at a golf gym, which is so random, but I had frozen shoulder. And so my husband was like, I think this golf gym could help you. And it's such a gift to myself. It's not cheap, but I show up feeling so much better because I treat my actual body like the instrument that it is, meaning that you've got to sleep, meaning that you've got to give yourself the grace to have the foundations to support you, whether that is through actual human team members, or maybe you need to take 2 days to build out an AI system that can then serve you in the future. Because if you just keep going and don't allow for the reset, that
Right.
burnout is real, and it's something that we don't talk about enough, I don't think.
I love that. And I love that, you talked about building out tools that support you. And that's another thing that I've learned, first right away, you were like, oh, let's try base 44. And that has been something that, you can make any tool for yourself. And that's a great,
I mean,
great system.
it's wild, and I will just say my go-to recommendation for someone to build your tools for you is Angelina, because
Yes.
because you put it into action. Like, I had a coach once who said he runs with the front of the pack or something like that. When you look at, like, dog sleds,
Right.
he's like, "I'm gonna run if someone else is running," and so I will be willing to run with our clients who are actually showing up and putting it out there, and you do that in such an awesome way.
That'll be my next Facebook post, a dog
The
sled with,
dogs with you and I
uh,
running at the front.
I love it. I love it. Okay, thank you so very much. I feel so blessed that you came on here today to share with us, and I appreciate all of your wisdom. And if anyone wants to find you, I'm going to highly share the links because your programs are amazing. So
Hey,
thank you.
Angelina, one other thing I didn't say, which is the most
Yes,
important of all, is figure out what you actually want.
yes.
Stop
So
chasing somebody else's comparisonitis issue that you have, right? If someone else is doing something and you find yourself go, yes, I saw it back there.
this is it's called Finding My Awesome Self-Confidence, Self-Love and Joy, a book by Molly Mahoney. And it is so true. Like, you have to love what you do. And I do feel so blessed. I get to wake up every day and I'm like getting up at 4 a.m. and I'm working because I'm so excited and it's just fun. And that's what life should be about. So
So the more fun you have, the more money you make.
right.
And I created a magical gift for your people. Can I share
Stop
that?
it.
Is that okay?
Yes.
So if you go to molly.live/Angelina, I have a GPT, so it will help you to get started with building out these tools for yourself. Again, if you want to hire someone to do it for you, Angelina is who you should hire. If you want to start playing with building them yourself, this is a GPT that will write the source prompt for your AI tools as just a sliver of getting started. And then there's so much magic behind the scenes. So make sure you keep watching this podcast.
We'll share that with everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to the AI Amplified podcast for entrepreneurs. If you want to learn more about my work, head on over to my website at aicoachingwithangelina.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and share this podcast with a friend. See you next week.